Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Press Club, and a warm welcome once again to our old friend, Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike. She really needs no introduction, but I'll briefly go through. She's been for a long time at the center of Japanese politics, having served as defense minister and environment minister, and very nearly at one stage as prime minister. She's now governor in Tokyo and is at the center of perhaps one of the biggest crises to face the world and the country in recent years, the coronavirus, as well as the issue of how to deal with the Olympics next year. I'd just like to quickly introduce myself. Sorry, I forgot that at the beginning. My name is Isabel Reynolds. I work for Bloomberg News, and I'm also the president of the club. Also at the table, we have David McNeil, and our wonderful interpreter, Mary Joyce. While the governor's speaking, if you could make sure your phones are on silent mode. And without any further ado, please, Governor Koike.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yuriko Koike, Governor of Tokyo. And thank you for the opportunity to address members from the FCCJ, some of whom are joining us online today. And before talking about Tokyo, I would like to congratulate Isabel to be elected as the very first woman.
No, not the first.
Not the first.
First British woman.
A British woman as a president of SCCJ, and she will not be the last.
Wait, here.
And congratulations, and also I'd like to congratulate Ilgum as a secretary, to be elected as a secretary. And thank you very much, David, for your contribution to the FCCJ and a contribution as a journalist, presenting what's happening in Tokyo precisely. Thank you very much. So I was invited to speak in March of this year, but the event was canceled due to the coronavirus. Today, I'm very happy to be here as a real mote, but I take off the mask during this presentation because you are well equipped and well managed to have the countermeasure of COVID-19. And although we cannot fully meet face-to-face this time, I'm glad for the opportunity to meet in this way. Now, currently, the new coronavirus is taking a serious toll on the world. And I would like to once again express my condolences to all the victims of this disease. Sadly, the number of infected people in Japan has recently been increasing, leading us to raise Tokyo's infectious status alert to the highest level last week. As COVID-19 continues to sweep the world, we are often asked by people from abroad why there are so few infections and deaths in Japan despite our aging population. Please have a look at the data on this slide, which shows the comparison of the number of infections and deaths between Japan and other countries. And here, the graph shows the number of new positive cases and new serious cases in Tokyo as a 7-day moving average. Additionally, the number of deaths per 100,000 people in Tokyo is only about 3. Therefore, you can see the numbers of infected people, death, and serious cases in Tokyo have been kept quite low. While I am by no means a medical expert, I believe the main driving force behind this can be found in the efforts of medical professionals, as well as the high level of public health awareness among the people of Japan. I also believe another key reason is the moral duty of trying not to cause problems for others. And these slides show some poster from Japan at the time of the so-called Spanish flu epidemic about 100 years ago. Mask wearing has been a common practice in Japan for many years, as you know. However, it seemed strange to the rest of the world. Before the pandemic, there was a joke that only bank robbers and Japanese people wore masks. Now, people all around the world are wearing masks. And in the United States, President-elect Joe Biden said wearing a mask was not a political statement, it's a patriotic duty. And I would like to show you this picture of my great-grandfather and mother, both of Denjiro Ogawa and Kame-san, who died almost 100 years ago, which means they died of pandemic. They died of Spanish flu. At that time, the number of deaths because of the Spanish flu was counted up to almost 400,000 in Japan at that time. Now, this time, in addition, we have asked for voluntary cooperation in avoiding the 3 C's, that is, closed spaces, crowded places, and close conversation to prevent the spread of infection. To respond to concerns about the potential collapse of the medical system, the Tokyo Metropolitan Government has prepared designated hotels for patients with mild or no symptoms. In this way, hospital beds can be reserved for treating patients in serious condition. And I believe these measures help to reduce the number of serious ill patients and fatalities. As an initiative unique to the city, we opened a newly established facility for people to be with their beloved pets as they recuperate to live with. Also, those who are recovering at home are asked to report their health status via an app. The pandemic has a lasting impact on the social and economic well-being of Japan and the world, as you know. As we moved toward our new normal, it is important to balance social and economic activities with prevention measures in mind. Presently, Tokyo is focusing on the following measures. The first is the Tokyo Center for Infectious Disease Control and Prevention, Tokyo ICDC, I for infections, launched in October. This organization conducts policy planning, research, and analysis under normal circumstances. The center is also responsible for crisis management as well as the gathering and dissemination of accurate information in the event of an emergency. Based on recommendations from an advisory board made up of a wide range of experts, including those in the field of epidemiology and public health, the center will advance preparations against a pressing challenge. We will also continue to work to expand testing in cooperation with the Tokyo Medical Association and other related organizations. Following national guidelines and in anticipation of the upcoming flu season, Tokyo has set the demand for testing at about 65,000, and we will prepare a testing system by early December. We will increase the number of public health nurses and administrative staff, expand the tracing team for active research. Next, we need to provide fine-tuned support for businesses. In behavioral economics, there is a concept called a reference point. we are asking all city residents and businesses to display this COVID-19 safety sticker as a symbol that businesses have taken the proper infection countermeasures such as cleaning and disinfecting based on the guidelines. Currently, about 280,000 rainbow stickers are posted in restaurants and shops. And I have also at the door of the FCCJ, please put the sticker. You can find the restaurants and shops displaying the sticker on a designated map on our website. And in using these stickers, we are working to establish a new normal. Furthermore, we have established detailed responses for residents based on their age, and Tokyo is using a variety of tools to disseminate information to encourage people in Tokyo to change their behavior, especially in consideration of the elderly who are at high risk. You can see Kin-chan. He's a very famous comedian, aged 70-something, and he speaks about how to tackle COVID-19 will give a good influence to the people, senior people as well. I also use YouTube to regularly deliver up-to-date information. And as we prepare for winter, when influenza is expected to spread, we are stepping up our efforts to protect the elderly. For this segment of the population, routine influenza vaccines are free. Now, we must make an effort to care for foreign residents, taking into account their languages and lifestyles. We are fully committed to supporting them by providing detailed information using videos in simple Japanese, English, Nepali, Tagalog, and other languages. I'm speaking Nepalese. Social distancing and telework will continue to grow as part of the new normal. Telework, staggered work schedules, and walking and bicycling to work can go a long way in preventing infection by avoiding peak commuting hours. We see a new global trend toward economic recovery while also dealing with climate change. We want to propose a sustainable recovery model for people as a new perspective to enhance our future lives. Rather than return to a pre-corona society, we are working to create a Tokyo where diversity and inclusiveness are embraced through the establishment of a new normal. Furthermore, utilizing the power of technology against COVID-19 also leads to simultaneously addressing a wide range of urban challenges as we move toward the future. And for example, Tokyo launched its open source website at an early stage. Also, at this year's Tokyo Robot Collection, we showcased the practical use of robots in a variety of settings, including mobility, security, cleaning, and customer service. This project helped to contribute to solutions for labor shortages, which is sure to be an issue in an aging society with a low birth rate. Now, I would like to talk about the Global Financial City Tokyo vision. We formulated this vision in 2017 with the aim of making Tokyo one of the world's leading global financial cities alongside New York and London. Based on this vision, the Tokyo Financial Awards, established in 2018, recognize financial businesses in Japan and abroad that promotes ESG investment. We have also established a public-private partnership ESG fund to invest in renewable energy power generation facilities. And in 2017, Tokyo became the first local government in Japan to issue green bonds. Actually, as I was the Minister of the Environment long time ago, and this is what I wanted to do that as a national level. But now I'm as a governor of Tokyo. Once I was elected, right away I start preparing this issuing green bond. Now, last year we issued around 20 billion yen or 192 million US dollars in green bonds, which were sold almost immediately. And this year we plan to issue approximately 30 billion yen or 288 million US dollars in green bonds. Now, last year we launched FinCity Tokyo, which is Japan's first financial promotion organization to conduct promotional activities not only in Japan but in 5 cities overseas. Last month, Team Invest Tokyo was launched, an industry, academia, government joint project to accelerate the attraction of foreign businesses. We also launched our Business Consultation Center in Hong Kong as the first overseas contact point for Business Development Center Tokyo. During the next year, we will updating our vision in light of the many changes in the environment surrounding global financial cities that have occurred since 2017. We would like to establish Tokyo as a global and Asian financial hub where people, capital, and information come together. And last month, the U.S. monthly financial magazine, Global Finance, announced the world's best cities to live in 2020, and Tokyo was ranked number 1, ahead of London, Singapore, and New York. I understand that this ranking is based on not only economic, cultural, environmental, and R&D factors, but also coronavirus measures. In light of this high evaluation, we will accelerate our efforts to make Tokyo a global financial city. Finally, I would like to talk about the Tokyo 2020 Games to be held in 2021. An international gymnastics competition was held in Tokyo on November 8th, just a couple of weeks ago, with top gymnasts from Japan, Russia, China, and the United States competing. Spectators were also present, about 2,000. And this event demonstrated the ingenuity of safety and security measures. I'd like to pay tribute to all those involved in this event, and we are proud that we could demonstrate our capabilities in holding such an event in Tokyo during difficult times. It is extremely important that we prepare for next year's games in order to provide a safe and secure environment for the athletes and spectators in this event. To manage coronavirus at the games, we will work together with the national government, the IOC, and other organizations concerned to ensure comprehensive measures are taken at ports of entry and at each venue. It is also crucial that we consider cost reductions of the postponed games. To gain the support of the people of Tokyo and the rest of the world, we will continue to work hard to simplify preparations and operation of the games as much as possible. In related news, ceremony to mark the completion of the Tokyo Aquatic Center, which had been postponed for half a year due to the pandemic, was held successfully last month. And preparations for the Tokyo 2020 Games are moving forward, including the implementation of an online training session for Games volunteers. Recently, IOC President Thomas Bach visited Japan, as you know, And he expressed his confidence that together we can make the Tokyo Games a success, a light at the end of the tunnel that will give us hope for the future. Following Tokyo, Paris will host the Games in 2024 and then Los Angeles in 2028. We will create a new model that benefits the post-COVID world, and I wish to pass this on to these two cities. The Antwerp Games were held in 1920, shortly after the First World War and the so-called the Spanish flu epidemic, and served as a symbol for post-crisis solidarity and recovery. The Tokyo 2020 Games can also symbolize the resilience of humanity as we work together to defeat this invisible enemy, COVID-19. By taking all possible measures against the COVID-19, we will fully prepare to ensure the safety of the athletes who play the leading role and the volunteers, children, and all those who are looking forward to the Games. As a symbol of hope for the future, I will take the path that leads to a successful Games. Thank you very much for your time today.
Okay, thank you very much, Governor Koike. Right, we can now move on to the questions and answers. Unfortunately, Governor Koike needs to leave at 2:30 pretty well on the dot. She's got a very busy day, so please keep your questions very short. One question per person, and no speeches. I'm afraid I'm going to take advantage of my position up here to ask the first question. I've seen in the news this morning, obviously, one of the main ways that the government has been keeping the economy ticking over during the pandemic is the go-to subsidies for travel and eating out. There's talk of removing certain areas from that program. There are reports that you, Governor, are going to visit the Prime Minister today. Is that true? And if so, what are you going to say to him about Tokyo and the go-to subsidies?
はい、では質疑応答の方に入りたいと思います。まず一つ司会の方から質問させていただきますが、今朝の報道ではですね、GoTo トラベル、GoTo イートっていう政策で経済を回しているというような状況が日本にあると思うんですけれども、今朝の報道ですと今日菅総理にはお会いになるということが報道されていますが、それがまず事実かどうかということを確認させてください。そしてもしお会い、面談があるのであればどういう話をなさる予定なのかということもお願いいたします。
Please allow me to answer your question in Japanese. ありがとうございます。この後、実は時間を区切らせていただいているのは、この後官邸に伺うからであります。菅総理と現状におけるコロナ対策、東京都と国の連携の確認のために伺います。
Thank you very much. Actually, the reason, of course, that we have very limited time today at this press conference where I will need to leave on time is because, indeed, I will be going to the Prime Minister's office after this. I will be meeting with Prime Minister Suga in order to discuss the current COVID-19 related countermeasures and also the issues of coordination between the Tokyo Metropolitan and the national governments.
いくつかのこの経済を活性化させる国の政策があり、その一つが GoTo トラベルであり GoTo Eat。これ正しい日本語ではないけれども日本人には通じてとてもよくこのお食事にいらしたり旅行にいらしたりということが見られています。
And amongst, of course, the different national government policies towards or to support economic activities in Japan under the pandemic are, as mentioned, the GoTo Travel and GoTo Eat campaigns. While they may not be necessarily the most accurate language used in the title of these, they are terms which have become very familiar to the Japanese people, and they have led to many people utilizing these schemes in order to go and dine and travel.
東京につきましては、先ほども少し紹介いたしました、今、日本のどこの都市よりも、検査をしている、それぞれの各国でなさっておられるように、検査も行っている、そして陽性者がそれによって発見されている、最近の傾向として、お年を召した方々の陽性率も増えてきている。主に、その家庭の中で移し合いをしているけれども、それはどこかから持ち込まれたものであるという分析をしています。
And so, as I briefly mentioned before, Tokyo is at the moment conducting more tests than other cities within Japan on a scale which is, of course, comparable to other countries around the world. We are therefore able to be detecting the various positive cases of COVID-19. And we are seeing recently there is a trend in an increase of number of positive cases amongst the aged population in Tokyo. This is particularly being seen as the contagion rate being within households. However, this is, of course, something which is, the virus is brought in from an external source.
陽性が東京でも増えていると、特に1400万人の最大の都市である東京の陽性者の数は非常に多いですが、最近は他の都市がその数を上回る陽性者の数を出しているという傾向が見えてきています。
So we are seeing there is this high number of positive cases being detected within Tokyo. This is, of course, in a city which has a population of the scale of around 14 million people. But there is indeed this increasing number of cases. There is also a situation being seen in other cities throughout Japan where there is an increase in positive cases, even in some cases more than that of Tokyo.
これは人の移動によって、この陽性が増えてきているということは明らかであります。
And it is clear that the movement of people is having an impact on this increase in cases.
そしてそのためにはこの活発な人の移動をどうやって抑制をするのか、それから人の移動もさることながらやはり会食などでのこの飛沫が飛ぶことによる感染が多いと考えられています。
And so, therefore, it is necessary to look at, what kind of, for example, restrictions or suppression on this active movement of people might be needed. Not only this, of course, in the case when people are moving about, the cases of when they are eating out, when there is this risk of contagion through droplets.
その中でどのようにしてそしてその会食から移った感染したウイルスが家庭に持ち込まれて、免疫力の低い高齢者に移るというそういう流れが見えています。
And we are seeing these cases, situations where in times of eating out, the contagion of the virus does spread in these cases. This is then brought home into the household where perhaps there are elderly members of the family who have lower immunity, who are therefore then at risk of contagion.
東京都はその中において、これは国の制度でありますので、それらの今東京で出現している問題をどう抑えていくのかを、先ほどは西村担当大臣と、そしてこれから菅総理と話し合って、対策を講じていきたいと考えています。
This is, of course, a national system, a national policy which is in place. Therefore, on behalf of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, what we are doing is to see how we can best contain this phenomenon, contain this situation within Tokyo. This is the reason that I met before with the relevant minister, Mr. Nishimura, and why I will be meeting with Prime Minister Suga after this also. そして
東京もそうですけれども、他の都市も非常に諸外国と比べますと、この重篤な人の数はかなり抑えられていると思います。これは医療機関の皆様方のご努力のおかげだと考えています。
I think it must be said, however, that Tokyo, in comparison with other relative countries in other countries as well, has been able to maintain the number of serious cases at quite a low level, and this is thanks to the dedicated efforts of the healthcare workers.
東京においては本日でシリアスな重篤の方は昨日の時点で41名であります。
In Tokyo, as of the numbers from yesterday, there were 41 recorded serious cases.
さまざまな国々、特に非常にこの感染が広がっているところからすれば、重症者の数を抑えられていて、さらに死亡者の数も抑えられているというふうに考えています。
And so looking at this number, I think that compared to perhaps a situation in cities in other countries where there is a more concerning more high levels of contagion, and the fact that Tokyo has been able to maintain this number so low and also a very low number of fatalities is something to be noted.
一方で経済も逼迫をしているということであります。今日は日経平均株価は非常に上昇を見せておりますけれども、実体経済はこの前期がひどい 38% GDP マイナスだった、そこが低すぎたということもあって、今回は 28.3 ポイントの上昇を見せていますが、やはりこれからどうやって経済と感染症対策とのこの防止の対策を両立させていくかは、どの国も暗中模索の状況であり、これらのことについてはいいこのレッスンはお互いに共有していきたいと考えています。
On the other hand, of course, there has been the detrimental situation in regards to the economy as well. While today's average in Nikkei stocks had seen an increase, the actual economic situation in the period before, we of course saw the situation of the minus in the GDP of 38%, which is much too low. We have seen in this period the increase up to 28.3. However, from now, the key issue for Tokyo and also for all other countries as well will be how to balance both the economic measures and also the contagion prevention-related countermeasures as well. This is something which will have to be implemented as we are going, and I hope that we can continue to share the different good lessons with one another also.
Thank you. Richard.
Richard Lloyd Parry of The Times, thank you. At what level of COVID-19 infection next year would it become necessary to cancel the Olympic Games?
はい、タイムズ紙のリチャード・ロイド・ペリーと申します。2021年にどのレベルの感染があればオリンピック5連を中止しなければいけないということになるのかということについてお願いします。
それについての判断はですね、やはり主催が IOC であります。そして各国の IF、そしてそれぞれの競技の連盟があり、各国のそれぞれのオリンピックコミュニティがあります。そして日本政府、そして東京、これらのことが話し合っていくことになると思いますが、現時点での調整会議というまた、先日バッハ会長がいらしたのもですね、どのような形で開いていくのかということについての話し合いが行われ、そして安全安心な大会開催のためのさまざまな施策についての考え方の意見交換が行われたところであります。よってすべての判断というのはその会議体で進んでいくものと考えております。
In regards to the judgment or a decision on that issue, of course, the IOC are the organizers of the games, as well as there are the various federations, both of each country and also each sport within the Olympics as well, and the various related Olympic committees as well. On top of this, there is also the national government of Japan and the Tokyo metropolitan government. Therefore, this will be an issue to be discussed amongst all of these parties. There's the coordination meetings taking place at at the moment, specifically where these kinds of issues are being discussed. And of course, Mr. Bach's visit recently to Japan was specifically for the purpose to discuss what format the holding of the Olympics is to take place in, to ensure that it can be done and it can be hosted in a safe way as well. So looking at what kind of measures and policies need to be in place for that is exactly what is under discussion at the moment. Any judgment as to the holding in the future is something which will be done within that structure also.
バッハ会長は滞在中に、また私との会談の際も述べられておられましたのは、IOC としてワクチンを選手にや関係者に提供する用意があるということを強調しておられたのは印象深かったです。
And particularly when Mr. Bach was here during his time in Japan, and also specifically in his meeting with me as well, his remark that the IOC was prepared to provide the vaccine to all athletes and related parties was also something particularly noteworthy.
私個人としても最近のワクチンの開発についてのニュースには大変敏感に反応しております。
And personally, I am, of course, at the moment very much sensitive to the various news on the development of the vaccines.
その前にいかにこの日本におきましては、ワクチンもまたその法律的な、強い法律もありませんけれども、前回も皆さんの協力によってですね、かなり抑えることができました。国内における対策についてはこういった形で、また、ホストシティである東京としても、この安全対策、コロナ対策はしっかりとっていきたいと考えています。
So, of course, the vaccine is one of the key issues there, but also looking at the different, for example, legal or legislative measures in place for this. They're not something which is necessarily strong here in Japan. However, looking at how to continue to implement different domestic measures in order to contain the situation is something which we, Tokyo as the host city, are looking at how we can ensure the appropriate measures for providing the safety of all involved and also the necessary COVID-19 related measures as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shukran for coming here. أهلا وسهلا. خلدون أزهري, Arab News Japan and Power News. What is the new normal expected for Tokyo Olympics in the worst scenario and the best scenario? And we are always hearing measures, comprehensive measures, but if you have some details, would be appreciated. Thank you.
はい、アザリと申します。このオリンピックにおけるニューノーマルという話があるんですけれども、最悪のシナリオ、そして最高のシナリオ、両方ぜひ教えていただければと思います。そして対策という話は何度も出てると思うんですけれども、具体的にどういった対策を考えられているのかお願いします。
対策については、コロナの状況、各国によって違います。その現状がどうなのかなど、状況に応じて考えなければなりません。ただ、ベストシナリオは、やはり各国の選手の方々が安心して、安全で来られて、安心安全な大会をフルの観客の下で行うと。いうこれまでの形でありながら、そのためにも徹底をしたコロナ対策を取っておくということであります。
So, of course, when we are talking about measures, the situation of COVID-19 is differing from country to country at the moment. Therefore, we need to be constantly monitoring this situation and ensuring to be able to adapt and that these measures can fit what the current situation is as necessary. The best case scenario, of course, would be something where the athletes from all countries would be able to come here to Japan in safety and with ease of mind, and that the Olympics could, as in previous years, as well be held with full spectators present as well, but with the presence at the same time of thorough and stringent COVID-19 related measures.
そしてまた例えば今この準備をしているのは、世界各国の選手の皆さんをお迎えして選手村に滞在をされる、 選手村における、医療施設、検査施設などを整えること、また食事の提供の仕方が、これまではブッフェスタイルでしたけれども、それをどうやって個々に分けていくのかなど、これらの一つ一つの対応策について話し合いをしているところです。
And the various measures which are currently under preparation, to give some examples, of course, if we have athletes who are coming from each of the different countries, they will be staying at the athletes' village. So there are various different preparations and so on for what kind of facilities and services should be at the athletes' village in terms of medical and health facilities, testing facilities, and so on. Also, in regards to the provision of meals, until now at the athletes' village, this has generally been buffet style. However, we are now making plans as to how this can be done with individual servings or, one by one and so on. So we are looking now at each of these different aspects which will need to be tackled in order to hold the games.
Okay. Okay, gentleman there, thank you.
Governor Koike, thank you very much. And I would like to ask you about, since you were graduated from Egypt University, an Islamic university, so a lot of Muslim people expecting you for this another 8 months Olympic. So how do you planning for, especially for Muslim people, how do you contribute for the Muslim people since you were graduated from the Muslim countries? Thank you.
はい、知事はですね、イスラムの国の大学卒業されているということで、世界の、イスラム教徒の人たちが非常に期待している、特に五輪について期待しているという状況がありますが、特にイスラム教徒の人々にはどういうふうに貢献をしようと考えているでしょうか。
イスラムの国々から素晴らしい選手をお迎えできる、そのために安全安心な大会である準備を行っております。
So at the moment, we are doing all we can to prepare to provide a safe games for all of the excellent athletes who will be coming to Japan from Muslim countries.
そしてその中にはこれはもう当然でありますけれども、食事についてはハラールを、そしてまた選手村やさまざまな会場における礼拝堂の施設などの準備を行っております。
And so this is, of course, something natural to be done. However, we are ensuring to be able to provide halal meals, also to be able to have prayer facilities at the athletes' village and all other relevant venues also.
これらのイスラム諸国からの観光客であれ、アスリートであれ、それを方々をお迎えすることについては、東京はすでにさまざまなおもてなしの準備をしております。歓迎いたしております。
So Tokyo is already putting into place various preparations in order to welcome and provide hospitality for both the tourists and athletes who will be coming from various Muslim countries around the world.
そして、いつもラマダン明けの時にはラマダン中の食事会というか情報交換会を、都庁で、このイスラムの方々をお招きして、共にお祝いをしているということであります。この状況の中で会を開けてないのは残念に思います。
And usually also as the Tokyo government, we are hosting iftar or the meals at the end of Ramadan and so on at the Tokyo Metropolitan government offices as well, to have a space to be able to discuss and share different opinions and so on with the Muslim community here. It's unfortunate that under the current pandemic circumstances, this has not been possible.
Okay, thanks. Ilgin.
Ilgin Yorulmaz for BBC World Turkish. Thank you for coming here today. I just want to go back quickly to the vaccination issue. We know that Japan bought about 120 million doses of vaccine from BioNTech and Pfizer, and others will also follow. Did the national government give Tokyo government or other local governments any indication as to who will be prioritized to be vaccinated, and also where do the foreigners in Japan fall into this ranking? Thank you.
はい、ワクチンについて質問させていただきますが、日本政府はすでに1.2億のワクチンを確保しているという話があるんですけれども、国の方と党の方では、例えばどこの地域、どこの人たちが優先的にそれを受けるのかという話などというのは、党と国の間にはされているかどうか、そしてその中で外国籍の住民の皆さんもどういうふうになるのかということをお願いします。
まだ国、まずワクチンの確保は国が責任を持って進めていると聞いております。そしてそれをどのような割り振りにするのかということについてはまだそれぞれの自治体等には知らされておりません。東京には54万人の皆様方を含めて外国からの方々がお住まいでございます。それらの方々の安全安心をお守りするというのも都として当然のことだと考えております。方法についてはこれから話し合いにというか国の方がお決めになってくるというふうに思いますが、都についてはそういったことも要望としてお伝えする必要があるかと思っております。まずは本当に有効な安全なワクチンが一日でも早くできることを祈っております。インシャアラです。はい。
So the securing of the vaccines is something which the responsibility lies at the national government level, and we have not yet heard from the national government how the distribution of this will be working with the different both Tokyo and other metropolitan or prefectural governments throughout Japan as well. So this will be a matter of discussion from now. Tokyo, of course, has a foreign resident population of around 540,000 people, and of course providing their safety and ease of mind is also something which naturally we as the metropolitan government feel is within our responsibility as well. As to how the methods of how this will be done, it is something which will be under discussion from now, and the decision as to the distribution of the vaccinations will be done by the national government. However, we as Tokyo, of course, will be conveying our requests in regards to that to the government as well. First of all, we are just hoping that a safe and effective vaccine can be developed as soon as possible, inshallah.
Okay, if we've got time for one very brief last question, my colleague David has one.
Thank you. You're a mere spring chicken at 68 compared to some of the politicians that we have at the moment, Governor. Do you still entertain thoughts of running for Prime Minister?
まだ日本の政界においては非常にまだお若いですけれども、今後は総理大臣などというのを考えられているでしょうか。
1400万人の都市の東京都をお預かりしているその責任を果たすことが最重要なことであり、今日もオリンピック開催のこと、パラリンピック開催のことを申し上げました。これについてはホストシティとして何としてでも実現していきたい、その役目を担っていると考えております。
So at the moment, of course, being responsible for Tokyo and its population of 14 million people is what I see as my utmost priority at the moment. This is something which, looking also, as I've mentioned, about the successful hosting and safe hosting of the Olympics and Paralympics, for example. Therefore, I am doing my utmost efforts at the most to realize this with my greatest priority.
Right, I think we're almost at 2:30. So thank you very much, Governor, for your visit today amid your very busy schedule. I don't want to keep you away from the Prime Minister. So we call it an end there on the questions. And as usual, we'd like to present you with an honorary membership of the club. And I hope you'll come and join us over the coming years.